You're listening to Zeitgeist Banana, a podcast all about the English language. My name is Gideon and I'm in Mallorca, and I'm joined this week by OMG. It's John. John. Hello, John.
Hi, Gideon. You spelled my name wrong, by the way.
What?
Yes, Jon. Can't believe it.
Okay.
I thought you were a good speller as well.
No, I was teasing you, actually. I know it's Jon, but this podcast today is all about spelling, actually. It's all about spelling. So, English spelling, the chaotic, anarchic world of English spelling. And by the time you finish listening to this podcast, you will spell English perfectly.
Well. English, is that right?
Oh, very good. Very good. That's not what I meant. It's a promise I cannot fulfill. But the good news is, I don't know if it's good news or bad news, that this is a level playing field because everybody makes spelling mistakes. Native speakers, even famous people, even literary figures spell English badly. There are many examples. Can I give you a few examples?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So let's come. Well, I don't know if this is a literary figure, but recently there was a funny one by Donald Trump.
Not really a literary figure, but yeah.
No. But he made a funny gaffe on Twitter during the election. He said, "The polls are closed, POLES."
Yeah, well, he's gaff prone, isn't he? But yeah, that would be wrong, isn't it? Polish people.
Yeah, apparently Polish people were writing. Says, "No, we're not closed. We're open." Yeah, and I'll give you a few more famous spelling mistakes. Tony Blair, in one communique, he spelt tomorrow TOOMORROW, T with two O's after it, which is strange. And people ask him, "Oh, that was just a writing mistake, not a spelling mistake." And he said, "Well, actually, no, it was a spelling mistake."
That's very honest of him to say that, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we do have some literary figures. We have Ernest Hemmingway. He was a bad speller. He spelled loving, LOVEING, and moving, MOVEING, amongst others. Spelled those incorrectly. Had Jane Austen, couldn't spell scissors. Spelt it SCISSARS, amongst many other spelling mistakes that she made. The editor corrected them, but she was a great writer, but a terrible speller, apparently.
Yeah, but that's quite a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I remember as a child saying skizzers just to remember the C.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like Wednesday as well, just to remember the D.
I had a trauma at school with Wednesday. And in the end, I just had to remember Wednesday. In my mind, I said Wednesday, and it helped.
Did you only have the trauma once a week, or?
No, I had the trauma once a week, also once a month with February.
Oh, wow. Blimey.
I think February is even worse, because why is there an R after the B?
Yeah, that is a confusing one, isn't it? You were a very traumatized child because of a day and a month. Wow. Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to that in a second. Actually, I'm just gonna finish off a few more famous bad spellers, and I'm going to return to that subject. So F. Scott Fitzgerald spelt definite wrongly, and criticism spelt it wrongly, and Dan Quayle, the vice president, was that under George W. Bush, was it? I can't remember. Anyway, vice president of the US, spelt potato, POTATOE.
But that's not such a bad mistake, is it? Because the plural is with an E, isn't it? So yeah, you'd have potatoes.
It's true. It is a bad mistake, though, if you're vice president and showing children how to spell, which he was. He was filmed in a classroom,
right?
Correcting a student or a pupil who's like 7 years old who had spelt it correctly. No. You put an E at the end.
Yeah, that is a bad mistake.
So if he hadn't done that, so spelling sort of ended his political career. If that hadn't have happened, he may have become President Quayle.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
President right now, who knows? But just so pay attention to your spelling because it could end your political ambitions. With Emma Watson, who had a tattoo recently. She's making homage to the women's rights movement, and she had the tattoo "Time's Up" tattooed on her butt. She forgot the apostrophe.
Oh, that's bad, isn't it?
Yeah,
but I guess it's not too bad though, because you could probably tattoo in an apostrophe and make it look okay.
That's true. It's probably what she did. That's true.
Yeah, possible.
And one more by a non-native English speaker who said this: "I cannot write in English because of the treacherous spelling."
That's hair flick, is that right?
I think many listeners don't know who Hair Flick is. You might need to explain that one. It's a TV character.
Yes, he's a TV character, isn't he? From Allo Allo, which is a famous British comedy series, isn't it?
Anyways, it wasn't him. It was Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein. That was going to be my third guess.
I'm not going to ask you a second guess, but at least you recognize it as a German accent. So
I did. It was very impressive.
Yeah. He also said Einstein. He said that he was a bad speller in German as well. That I don't know.
Well, they have really big words in German, don't they? So I can understand that.
Well, let me ask you, John, are you a good speller or a bad speller?
I would say I'm a good speller on the whole.
Really?
I would say so. I can spell my own name, so
okay. I'm going to ask you a few words to spell in a second. Okay. But I should say at this point, though, that we have native speakers and people learning English. And I think, you're an English teacher too, that the mistakes are often different. So, for example, a foreign person learning English might spell women incorrectly. I mean, why is it spelt W-O-M-E-N when it should be W-I-M-A-I-N, women? But a native speaker would misspell that one. However, something else, like, I don't know, accommodation, native speakers have problems with that one. But I don't think... do you agree with me? Do you agree with me?
I do, yeah. I mean, I find accommodation is frequently misspelled everywhere in places like the UK and America. It's quite an intriguing one, that one. Not sure why.
Yeah, but you say you're a good speller.
I like to think I am. I'm sure you'll catch me out with a few, but I like to think I'm a pretty good speller.
Okay, I must admit, I'm not a particularly good speller.
I know.
But not just getting your name right. No, for two reasons, actually. Two reasons. One, sometimes I'm just in a hurry and I write anything and I don't even think about what I'm writing and I make stupid blunders. I know perfectly well how to spell them. I don't know, like your, I'll spell it with a Y-O-U, put the wrong your or the wrong there or something like that. I'm just not paying attention. But now I'm trying to be a bit more careful about that because I just like write while I'm running. I'm being a bit more careful these days, but I still make, can you say genuine spelling mistakes? I'll tell you one or two. Well, you already mentioned Wednesday in February, which were a nightmare as a kid. Other ones as a kid, I had trouble with necessary. I always used to spell that one wrong. I used to hate that one. Necessary. Why is there a C, N-E-C? Why? And why only one?
That is confusing.
And until quite recently, I spelt Sweden incorrectly. I spelled it with a double E, Sweden. And somebody pointed out to me, says, why are you writing a country like the Sweden? No, it's only got one E.
I like your Swedish accent better than your German accent.
Okay, thank you. But you're right. It is Sweden, not Sweden. Sweden. Yeah. It's not Sweden, it's Sweden. So I'm going along the right path.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, in a way, it sounds more correct what you say. Perhaps Sweden will change the name of their country.
I think so.
They should do.
Well, I say. The other one, this would be my first one for you. This one I have a trauma with, even to this day. One of the few words I still have a headache with when someone brings it up in a class, for example. I try to change the subject, and that is stationery. How do you spell stationery?
So this one depends if you're talking about pens and pencils or if you're talking about a car stopping.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're talking about pens and pencils, it would be Ionery.
Whoa. Wow. Very good. Very good. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. I'll try and remember it. So, but English spelling is crazy, isn't it? Like four, 40, Forty. Why? Why is head spelled Head?
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Head. And yeah, women, colonel, Colonel.
Yeah, that's a crazy spelling, definitely.
Leopard, Leopard.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy spelling, isn't it? Anyway, I've got a few for you.
Okay.
It's a challenge for you.
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Precede.
So Precede.
Oh, very good. I'm impressed. Yeah, I think a lot of people spell it, probably me as well. Precede. I think I made that mistake before.
Well, I guess that could I can understand that because it's similar to proceed, isn't it? And that's how.
Yeah, exactly.
How that would be
Exactly.
Yeah.
Millennium.
Millennium. So Millenium.
I've got down here Millenium.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay, maybe I was slightly wrong.
Okay, I can edit that bit out.
So it's up to you.
Okay, let's see. Fulfill.
So fulfill is Fulfil.
Correct. Wow. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. Yes, because so many people get that wrong because full is Full and fill is Fill. But in British English, Fil, fulfill.
Well, in fact, I am actually tricking you there, aren't I? Because normally I would spell it with two L's. So yes, I preempted this question and looked it up. And the American way is with two L's, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you were expecting a little test. So I did mention the subject we were talking about today. So you've been swatting up.
I have indeed. Yes.
Okay. What about occasionally?
Ooh. Okay. Occasionally, OCCASI. No, it's two S's, isn't it? SSIONALLY.
I think it's one S.
Is it? I'm so disappointed.
Long pause.
So disappointed.
Yes, you cry into your cornflakes.
Into my porridge.
It's your porridge.
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant.
Ooh, this one's a tricky one though. SARGENT.
Well, I've got here SERGEANT. That's how I spell it. But sometimes there are alternative spellers. Maybe I should have checked that. Spellings. There are sometimes alternative spellings.
Well, yeah.
Check that. Maybe I can Google it while we're doing this podcast.
I'm wondering that one. Possibly it's an American spelling, is it? One of them's American, one of them's British. Because I think both are probably used.
It says SERGEANT. That's what it says.
Really? Okay. I was wrong.
So you were wrong, my friend.
Mm.
Anyway, you did pretty well. I know you're a pretty good speller.
Thank you very much.
Now, let me ask you another question, though. A historical question. Why is English spelling so chaotic?
Because it's something to do with Latin. Is that right?
Well, there are a number of reasons which I will share with you. One is the great vowel shift. That's not the great bowel shift, which is something to do with the English breakfast, you having too much English breakfast this morning. No, the great vowel shift.
I'm sorry, I was just laughing at one of your jokes. I just got it about 3 minutes afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So between 1400 and the 1700s, vowels shifted. So, and we still see the old writing, but with new pronunciation. So, for example, O-U-T, out, not used to be ut. And
Because the Canadians would say oot.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, maybe it's an older form.
Yeah, sure.
B-O-O-T was said boat, not boot. And other changes, of course, when you see KN before a word like no, it would have been canal. And you see the GHT in night, it would have been nicht or something like that. I don't really know much old English. So
Knigget. It could be
Knigget, yeah.
Knigget.
Yes, the cavalier. Yeah, exactly. K-N-I-G-H-T.
The Kniggets of the round table.
Exactly. So it would have been spelled more like that. So that's one reason, a big reason why the spelling got kind of fixed to some extent in that time, but the pronunciation changed. And for some reason, we didn't update the spelling as we should have done, as other languages have done over the years. They update spelling to reflect changes in pronunciation. The second reason is because of scribes and typesetters who may have been French or may have been from the Netherlands. And when they put the words into English, they spelt it differently. So, for example, queen used to be spelt C-W-E-N. Logical, huh? Queen. Okay, but somehow the French came along and goes, oh no, we need a QU. We put it there. It looks more like our language, you know? Mm-hmm. And also ghost used to be spelt G-O-S-T, which is how we say it. But then the Dutch typesetters came along and said, no, I think, what is this G-O-S-T? I think we need an H after the G. Let's put it there. Yeah, we're familiar with that one. Do you like my accent? I'm doing a lot of accents today.
Yeah, you're doing very well. Have you been training yourself? It's very impressive.
I'm glad you're impressed. No, I do my best.
I'm easily impressed though.
So that's how a lot of words got mistreated, shall we say, over time. Another reason is because of snobbery. Can you believe it? Snobbery.
Yeah, that's
so Latin.
I can understand that though, because I guess in literary circles, people are probably quite snobbish, aren't they? I imagine.
Well, it also has a lot to do with Latin. That people would defer to Latin as being the most perfect language, and when they saw an English word that came from a Latin word, even though it was spelled completely differently, they would add something to the spelling to make it reflect the Latin. So, for example, debt. We should spell debt, D-E-T, shouldn't we? Yeah, logically. But they said, oh, no. It comes from the Latin debitum. So let's put a B in there, which we don't say. Okay.
Confusing, that one.
The same with Ireland. Britain is an island. Why is there an S there? And all to do with Latin. It comes from insula. The English word was Ireland, but it comes originally from Latin, insula. So there's an S in there. Let's put that in the English word to make it look a bit more Latin, because we love Latin.
Yeah, that's curious, isn't it? What about something like lamb or climb? Because they both have a B, don't they? But we don't say them.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure that comes from Latin, though. Climb, I don't think so.
I don't think it does either, but I'd be curious to know. Maybe somebody can write in, or we can find out.
Yeah. Well, I haven't got lamb on my list, but I do have salmon. Of course, in English we say salmon. Mm-hmm. But once again, the snobs saying it's from Latin, or was it salmone or something like that? And they put the L back in because we don't say the L in English. So there's this mismatch. Your salmon is spelled with a silent L. It's kind of stupid. And receipt as well. That's another one.
Yep. P, silent P.
Silent free receipt. Yeah, there's a lot more like that. So it's a bit crazy.
It is indeed, yeah.
There's also biscuit, which used to be spelt Biskit, biscuit, because that's how you pronounce it, biscuit. But someone came along, not the Latin snobs, but the French snobs, and saying, oh no, it is like the French word, biscuit. No, we have to change the spelling. So they changed it to Biscuit, like the French. But of course, it's got nothing to do with the French spelling. But there you are. That's how British spelling became so chaotic. I'll just break in to remind you that if you're learning English and you want to listen to more of John's lovely voice, then head over to English with Monty, where you can hear John's podcast that'll help you improve your English. So just move on to American spellings, because British spellings and English spellings are different sometimes for a few words. Do you know why that is?
No, go on, tell me.
It's because of Mr. Webster, Noel
Yes.
Webster of the Webster's Dictionary. And he thought, rightly so, that we should have spelling, we being Americans, have spelling that closer approximates the pronunciation. Okay? So, for example, you can think of perhaps a few examples of that.
Is colour an example?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so in British English, we would be COLOUR, whereas in American English, you would omit the U, so just COLOR.
That's correct. And center, so we spell these words that finish with RE. Well, theatre, centre, they finish RE in British English, and American English, they finish ER. So he made...
Because that's because of French origin, is that right? In British English? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Webster updated the pronunciation to just because we say centre, not centre. We don't say it like that. So, but the problem is with Webster is he made a few changes, but he just changed a few. And he left most of the stuff intact. So, for example, fight, YIGHT. Why didn't he change the GHT to a TE? Fight club, FITE, KLUB. We spell it like that. Be better.
It would be much better, yeah.
But he didn't. He was quite half-hearted in what he did.
Perhaps he ran out of time. Perhaps he died because he was drinking tea or something like that.
Okay, I don't have that information. I suspect not. Okay. So how do you spell jail?
This is a curious one. I think typically, and I know this is probably the American spelling, but typically we would say JAIL, but in actual fact, I think in British English we should spell it GAOL, but you don't really see that.
You don't see that anymore.
No.
Don't see that anymore, but you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct, yeah, because Oscar Wilde wrote the Ballad of Reading Gaol, GAOL, but even within my lifetime, I think it's changed now. I don't know anybody who'd write jail, GAOL in the UK. Don't think so.
No, we've completely changed it, haven't we? Yeah, that's true.
So any more British-American differences? Spelling, can you think?
There was one maybe with recognize, where in British English we use an S at the end, whereas the Americans would use a Z.
That's true. I think even in British English, the Z is catching up, isn't it? Apologize. I think I used to spell it with an S, but nowadays I think I spell it apologize with a Z. I think on both sides of the Atlantic now we use a Z most of the time, don't we? Would you agree? Or much more common?
I think you're right. Yes. I mean, I think it's probably moving in that direction, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah. Because it seems strange now, to put recognize with an S.
Yeah, this is true. I do actually make a point of doing that. And my word spell checker usually tells me it's wrong. So yeah, okay. I should change it to British English just so that's right.
Do you know any rules of spelling?
I do know one rule, but I'm not sure if it's 100% correct. I
What
used to
is it?
remember this rhyme, which was I before E, except after C.
You mean like when you have weird caffeine?
Yeah, that you see, it doesn't work then, does it?
I will
It
seize my weird caffeine in the
indeed.
coffee. I know that rule, but I don't think it's a very good rule because there are so many exceptions. There's like one or two exceptions, but there are many.
Yes, this is true. Yeah. I mean, it definitely works with the word receive.
Well, of course, it works for a few words.
So if I forget how to spell receive, then I remember that rule.
Okay, I'll give you a few more differences of British and American
Hmm.
spelling while we're at it. A traveller has two L's in British English, one L in American English,
But
and
that's curious though, isn't it, when you think about it? Because if fulfill in British English is with one L, but in American English it's with two L's. But then traveller is with two L's in British English, and in American English it's one L.
I
Confused me.
don't say there's any logic to it. I said there's just a difference. I didn't say there's any logic.
No, no, fair enough. Yeah, sure.
No, you're absolutely right. How do you spell
Yeah.
maneuver?
Um, it starts with an M and it ends with an R.
No, you're absolutely
It doesn't
wrong.
end with an R.
Not in British English, no.
Does it not? Oh, okay, wow.
In British English, it's spelled like the French way, like Manoeuvre, but
Ah,
American does end in an R, Maneuver.
there you go. I'm fully Americanized.
Uh,
Yeah.
what about
Yeah. It's a very difficult word, that one, though, isn't it?
it is? Now, I won't go through all the different spellings, but I'll give you one more because this is a particularly difficult one. Program. How do you spell program?
Well, I think program depends whether you mean a computer program or a TV program. So TV program would be PROGRAMME, whereas a computer program, you would take off the ME at the end. So PORGRAM.
Oh, John, you're so brilliant. You're absolutely correct.
I know
I
I
should
am.
add that the Americans only spell it one way.
Do they?
Yeah,
Wow.
they don't have the MME at the end. It's PROGRAM. So there's one way to spell the American, which is easier.
It is easier, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, stupid to have two spellings of the same word.
It's
Yeah.
kind of bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely correct. And a few words that are often misspelt. Bear. How do you spell bear?
Bear. So as in the bear, that
Well,
kind of
that's
bear.
my question. There are two spellings on there.
There are two spellings, yes. So if I talk about my bare bottom after I've jumped out of the shower, that would be BARE. And then if you talk about the attacking Leonardo DiCaprio, that would be BEAR.
Very good. And commonly misspelt, also wander and wonder.
Indeed.
Which is which? Do you want to explain?
Which is which? So wander, as in one of the great wonders of the world, would be WONDER. To wander around the world, or to wander around my neighborhood, as in walk casually, would be WAUNDER. Is that right? Or is it just there's no U? Maybe
There's no you.
there's no U. Yeah.
There's no you.
Mm.
Another one that causes a lot of problems, loose and lose.
That is a difficult one. Loose would be with a double O, so LOOSE, and lose would be LOSE.
Very good. Very good. You did pretty well. Not perfectly, John, but
Well, if I was perfect, I'd make you feel bad about yourself. So, I thought I'd get a few mistakes.
okay. But I just want to make it clear that everybody, all native speakers, I think virtually every native speaker will make spelling mistakes at some time or another. It's difficult to remember the spelling of every single word. I'm thinking other languages that don't have that problem, and so much time and effort is spent trying to learn all these spellings. I think I'm in Spain at the moment, and I know a little bit of Spanish, but in Spanish it's all phonetic with the exception of the B and the V, which is the same letter, and sometimes Spanish people get confused whether to put B or a V, and the H is silent. So sometimes Spanish people put in an H when there shouldn't be, or don't put in an H when there is one. But other than that, there are no problems. You won't make any mistakes spelling the words. But in English, it's such a headache, isn't it? And we waste so much time and effort. It's got to be a better way.
And I think that's what's very confusing, isn't it? Potentially for Spanish speakers or Italian speakers, that we have this in English. I mean, it would be much better if English was phonetic, wouldn't it? Because then it'd be easier to pronounce and easier to spell.
Yeah. I remember being insulted by a Spanish person once, a Spanish student, because I made a spelling lesson. And I said, "Oh, sorry, I made a mistake here." I said, "It's everyone makes spelling mistakes in English." And he said, "Oh, yeah? Does Anthony Burgess make spelling mistakes?" Why is he talking about Anthony Burgess, the writer of A Clockwork Orange? But I don't know why he said that. It just stuck in my mind. Even to this day, it was like a long time ago. Does Anthony Burgess make spelling mistakes? He probably did. I haven't Googled it.
He probably did. He was probably the worst speller ever. Yeah. That's curious.
But my student never forgave me for that, I think.
Yeah, and then you could say, but I'm not an award-winning author, so that's the difference.
But Shakespeare spelt his name 3 different ways.
That's colourful, isn't it?
To be fair, though, during Shakespeare's time, the spelling wasn't as fixed as it is now, so he's off the hook. Okay, there you are, John. At least I've learned one thing today, how to spell your name. And I'll remind our listeners that we also have lots of videos on our YouTube channel, Let Them Talk TV. Do check it out and subscribe if you haven't already. And John, now's your moment to plug your stuff. Go ahead.
Okay, yes, everybody, if you want to listen to my podcast, which also has the lovely Gideon on it as well, you just have to search for English with Monty, where you find your podcasts. And you will find me, and yes, more English knowledge and exercises. And it's slightly different to Gideon's. Some would say better, but it depends on your preference.
Let's just agree that both are fantastic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you for listening, and stay healthy, and catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.